But first, coffee. Yeah, that first.
Coffee, the drink that convinces people they like the taste of burnt bean juice just because it makes mornings slightly less terrible. But hey, whatever helps you climb out of bed at 7 a.m. to face the reality, that is your alarm clock, right? All jokes aside, coffee is truly amazing, and you won't believe how it's made. The manufacturing process. First up, regular coffee are coffee beans, water, additives for flavor enhancement. For instant coffee, the primary raw materials are coffee beans, often Robusta for its higher caffeine content and lower cost, water, air, carbon dioxide, and delicious nitrogen gas. Anyway, the manufacturing process of coffee is not exactly a walk in the park. Variables related to the coffee bean's growth, such as region, climate, altitude, and soil composition, all influence the final product's flavor, color, and general swagger. If your coffee ever tastes good, then there's a high chance that this mysterious man, otherwise known as Antonio, is responsible. Coffee begins with the germination of seeds, which are sown in what the Bible otherwise refers to as fertile soil. Within a week, the coffee plants start to flower, showcasing pretty little white blossoms. Over the next 6 to 9 months, these flowers develop into coffee cherries, turning from green to a luscious deep red. Only the red cherries are picked by hand. Also, the worker's fingernail gunk does contribute a unique and, quite frankly, irresistible flavor. Once harvested, the red cherries are washed in water channels to clean them up nice and good. Next, they enter a pulping machine which forcibly removes their outer skin and fruit, leaving the coffee beans naked and slightly traumatized. These emotionally unsteady beans are then violently sieved to separate any foolish green cherries that manage to slip through. Peace shall forsake you, green cherries, until the world's end. Sorry for getting a bit carried away there, but coffee is serious business. Drying the beans is the next vital step that follows sieving. Workers spread their beans, that's what she said, in thin layers, on large beds or patios under the sun. They regularly fondle their beans to make sure they dry evenly. Unfortunately for the beans, the next morning is not so welcoming. The beans have to now go through milling. Special machines painfully remove the parchment layer from the dried beans, revealing the raw coffee beans underneath. The beans now have a crispier appearance than your average middle-aged Los Angeles resident after 40 minutes in a tanning bed. These beans are then sorted and graded based on length, girth, density, and quality to ensure consistency. Only the best beans, the first-grade ones, proceed to the next stage. Whatever doesn't make the cut is kicked out and left to fend for itself. Stored in a controlled environment, these beans are referred to as green beans, although they are more of a yellowish hue. These green beans are then ready for roasting. Quick side note here. For every one of you that subscribe, I'll paint a random tree in my city, the color yellow. Let's get back to the video. Roasting is where the beans are heated to about 180 degrees Celsius, 356 Fahrenheit, causing chemical reactions that change their color to a rich brown. The beans are constantly monitored and adjusted to achieve the perfect roast within about 20 minutes. After roasting, the beans are cooled rapidly with forced air to halt the cooking process. I guess you could call them cool beans. Some of the roasted beans are ground immediately to different consistencies, depending on their intended brewing method, such as espresso, drip coffee, or wizard cauldron. The finely ground coffee is then used in espresso machines. But now that we've covered how regular coffee is made, let's keep the ball rolling. This next part reveals exactly how Nescafe instant coffee is made, so stay tuned. How they do it might just surprise you. Let's visit the Nescafe factory. This factory, critical during World War II for supplying easy-to-prepare coffee to troops, now employs over 890 people who produce more than 175,000 jars of coffee daily. That's almost enough coffee to keep my eyes open as I write this script. The boss works me to the bone. Each batch starts with the arrival of 170 tons of coffee beans, 154,221 kilograms, shipped from South America each day, stored in a huge silo capable of holding up to 560 tons, 560,000 kilograms. What an absolute unit! Each day, workers handle 1,200 sacks of these beans, beginning with a sampling phase where each bag is punctured to take samples for quality checks. Nescafe primarily uses two types of coffee beans, Arabica and Robusta, which both happen to be great band name ideas. Once a batch passes the quality assessment, it proceeds to the production line, starting with a filtration process that removes large debris via a mesh. The beans then travel through a system of pipes to a cleaning machine equipped with screens designed to remove smaller impurities like a rat's fart or one of my boogers, perhaps. After cleaning, the beans are sorted into different silos based on their type, ready for roasting. Inside the roasters, beans are thoroughly heated to 210 degrees Celsius for 12 minutes, 410 Fahrenheit, a precise duration that allows the starches in the beans to turn into sugars, releasing that signature coffee scent. Yes, please. Roasting also reduces the caffeine content with longer roasting times leading to less caffeine. After roasting, the beans are ground into coarse powder and transferred to large tanks that act much like enormous coffee makers. Here, hot water is used to extract the rich flavors, aromas, and essential properties of the coffee, a goofy process known as extraction. The extracted coffee then condenses into a thick, tempting liquid, which is spread on a conveyor belt leading to the freezing room. Inside the freezing room, the coffee extract is cooled rapidly to about -50 degrees Celsius, which is -122 degrees Fahrenheit, forming a thin surface layer that is then broken into pieces. This quick freezing process preserves the coffee's rich flavors. Underpaid factory workers, wearing thermal clothing to handle the extreme cold, oversee the process as the liquid coffee receives a blast of cold air. It solidifies within 2 minutes into a solid sheet about 8 millimeters thick. This sheet is then crushed into granules. The frozen granules are carried on trays, each holding enough to fill 75 Nescafe jars, to a vacuum chamber where the air is completely removed. The granules are then sublimated in the drying chamber, where the ice within them turns directly into gas, bypassing the liquid state and leaving behind dry coffee powder. Geez Louise, doesn't this all sound like something straight out of Breaking Bad? This dry coffee powder finally reaches the filling station, where hundreds of glass jars on a conveyor belt are filled in under a second, achieving a rate of 280 jars per minute. It takes over 11 hours to complete the day's batch of 175,000 jars, each then vacuum sealed to make sure the coffee remains fresh and retains its quality for up to 24 months. This precise and controlled process at the Nescafe factory is the sole reason why every jar of Nescafe instant coffee delivers the consistent flavor and quality expected by consumers worldwide. Trivia. Did you know that in prisons, particularly those with minimal resources, inmates have been known to brew coffee using nicotine-soaked cigarette butts or anything mildly caffeinated? It's true. This horrific version of coffee was used for its stimulant effects rather than flavor or enjoyment, showing us that within the penal system, desperate times call for desperate measures when you need a caffeine fix. Would you try a cup of cigarette coffee? Comment below. Coffee. It's beloved by so many. An assortment of coffee beans, water, and other mysterious additives get chucked together and processed ferociously until bam! Coffee is born. Isn't it peculiar? And if you're curious, and wish to know how other things are made too, then take a browse through our channel's video catalogue. The video on how nail polish is made might just convince you to take up Mongolian throat singing. Click play now.